Alright, suppose you want a 4K camera that's full frame and not too heavy, and you don't want to spend a bumload of cash. You're probably asking too much, right? Nah, not really, because for not a buttload of cash you can get this from Sony, as much as it sounds like I'm kissing Sony's butt. I'm not a Sony ambassador, I'm not paid by them, I make YouTube videos, so I pick whatever works best for me. The GH5 has been good to me, mostly, but there have been problems, which is why I've switched back to Sony with the A7 III. And let me tell you why. This is why I think this is one of the best, if not the best, 4K camera right now. Yes, right now. Never know, they'll probably announce the A7III tomorrow, given the speed at which they update their cameras. Now, I already had the A7 III for a number of weeks, and I already started shooting my YouTube videos with the A7 III, and I've even put it through a Sony Venice test. Yes, so this is a Sony, and that's Venice. Yeah, it wasn't really that funny, but anyway, these are my 5 reasons why I think the A7 III is a much better choice than even the A7S II. This is quite simple, and I'm not saying that you can't buy a camera that's cheaper, that shoots 4K with as much inherent value. The GH5 is cheaper, and there's so many things right about it. For this price category, I don't think you can find a camera that offers up more. Certainly not the Canon 60 Mark II, and not the Fuji X-H1, which, although shoots some great video, is still crop sensor. And I'm not dissing crop, a 1.5 times crop works nicely. You can shoot 4K DCI and with great 5-axis stabilization also, but if you want the full frame look, the fact is that the Fuji doesn't tick that important box. I've mentioned that it's full frame, but it's a great mount to have simply because you can mount so many different lenses on it. Even if it's not a full frame lens, it's got a great Super 35 mode. And look, it's not just all about full frame, it does shoot incredibly nice 4K footage. Okay, it's not 10-bit and you can't shoot 4K 60p, you have to drop it down to 1080 before you can get faster frame rates, but the 4K is pretty damn good. The 4K files from the A7 III in good light looks a little crisper than the A7S II, and that's probably thanks to the A7 III being oversampled from the 6K readout. So despite being the current cheapest Sony full-frame mirrorless, the Mark III offers up far from cheap performance. But check this, I mean, in terms of stills, it's got 15 stops of dynamic range, but for video, it's got 14 stops of dynamic range. It has ducking brilliant dynamic range. Coming from the GH5, you can definitely feel that there's a nicer highlight roll-off. Just makes things look as slick as duck. Alright, enough of the duck puns. Just nice, crisp 4K footage, and it's even really good in low light. The A7S II files still look good up to ISO 51200 and it keeps the crispness, whereas the A7 III starts to look a bit mushy by this ISO. But still, the A7 III does ISO 6400 without any problems, and ISO 12800 still looks as clean as. And at a push, ISO 25600 is usable too. I have to say, although the IS is decent enough, it isn't quite the same as the GH5. The GH5 is quite amazing. And on top of all that luscious full-frame imagery goodness, you've got this. Not my face. Great autofocus. And that's the thing, the autofocus on this actually works well, unlike Panasonic. Focus fail. And that's the thing with this, the autofocus on this works really well. It's quick and pretty accurate most of the time. Panasonic, hello, you might want to listen. And on top of that, stuff that really doesn't matter that much, but actually does matter. It's got a better body all round. It's got the same body as the A7R III and also the A9. Bigger battery, yes, much needed. Dual card slots, nice to have. Better grip and controls, it's almost a perfect little full-frame body. I mean, there are some issues. There isn't a battery charger included in the box, so you need to get one of those, and you should get some other accessories, namely a screen protector, because it scratches quite easily. With the Mark II, Sony's rear LCD screen coating scratched off way too easily. Don't know what it will be like with the Mark III's, but I can't be bothered to find out, so might as well protect it. Adding a cage makes it a lot more balanced, giving extra functionality for adding stuff on also. The Sony A7 III is a little bit front heavy when you add a full frame lens onto it, but the cage adds a little bit more weight to the back so it feels nicer in the hand. Should you invest in Sony lenses? Well, yes, if you want to use that AF. And when you've got all of those lovely lenses that fit on the Sony E mount and the Sony A7III comes out months later, which it probably will, then you can just move it over to that and Sony A7 III. Brilliant. There are lots of options for consumer cameras that shoot 4K outside of the Canon catalogue, and plenty of good ones too, but if you want those 5 things that I just mentioned, this is by far the best you can get for your money right now, until the A7S III comes out.